Okay, hi everybody. I want to thank you for, I guess, getting through the last few videos. So this is going to be the last one concerning the declarations of the police officers. This declaration is going to be from Vehicle 2, and it's the shooter. I'm going to give you a little explanation. So again, the declarations are done individually by all the police officers. They're mandated to do that by the BEI, Independent Investigations. They're supposed to do it without consulting the 911 call. They're supposed to do it without consulting each other. And they're supposed to do it quickly, like after the incident. So from how you read it, you would think that they would do it immediately after, but they all went to the police station. All the declarations were done between 6 and 7. So that morning of the intervention. So this is what the shooter says regarding the events of that night. He was the only police officer, he's the only police officer that did not meet he met with the BEI, but he didn't talk. In the BEI's regulations and obligations, it says that the police officers have to meet, the ones that are witness and implicated, have to meet with the BEI within 24 to 48 hours, depending on their status. And they all met with them, and they all collaborated. However, in the regulation, it says that they just have to meet with the BEI. It doesn't specify that they have to have a conversation or answer questions. So the implicated police officer chose to invoke that right and said that everything he had to say was on in his declaration. So the BEI they were not able to counter interrogate, I guess. They didn't even interrogate him at all. So that, that just tells you that he's not accountable, like I'm trying to say here, is like his blood work's not done. None of these things are done. It's incredible to me how much secrecy there is in here. I'm not sure if they think that if I know his name or if we know his credentials, like he could be a young guy. I really truly feel for this police officer. I feel that with all the secrecy, we all know that happens. It eats away his inability to be able to say sorry. If they say they're sorry, then that means that they're guilty, that they did something wrong. A boy died. It was a human life, and when I read and heard his declaration for the first time, I was really shocked. I was shocked by just the lack of compassion, I guess, that he wrote it in. But anyways, so here we go. So thanks for sticking with me through that. So he says that the call came in around 1:15, and that's what he says. It's in his opinion. He was at the beach in Cowansville when they received the call. He says he doesn't remember by heart the name of the caller, but he says that they went and met, they decided to all meet at Rona, and then they went and met at the Four Corners, at Owen's Corner. And at that point, they talked about high risk. They talked about the guy's name. So he then knew that he was pretty sure his name was Riley. And from memory, that the man was in crisis. He had a handgun, and he was near the IGA. The person was restless, agitated, showing his weapon, and walking west on 104. So that's towards Cowansville. He says that they did a briefing of about 3 minutes, which could be 3 minutes. I don't know. If they did 3 minutes of intervention talk, then To me, that's a lot, but from the recordings and the 911 and the talk on the radio from 1:32 to 1:40, there's no talking on the radio. So I'm assuming they arrived there, they had a chat, they called Riley. So there's some different things that happen. So he says that they talked about the high risk, the position of their cars, how they were going to arrive. He says that he arrived at around 1:43 a.m. It was so-and-so who located the individual at the intersection of 104 and Victoria. And they were the second patrol vehicle. And then behind us was the third vehicle. He says it was 25 degrees. It was clear. There was a lamppost. As you all know, there is a lamppost right at that intersection. So he was visible. All the police officers say he was quite visible. And he says there was a single individual who was brandishing a weapon and was pointing. He seems to be in crisis. And so the clothing matches the call. And he says, I planned this for 5 years. And yeah, so he says that he heard him say, I planned this for 5 years. He says that there's some agents that tried to get him to drop the weapon at a couple of times. He says that it's at the restaurant, it's a closed at the back. It looks like an abandoned building, and there's 3 vehicles present. So this is basically how he writes his thing. It's more like a point form. It's not an essay. It's not like this is what happened. So this is how he says, so after I neutralized the threat, I asked for an ambulance. Before arriving on this scene, we knew that it could represent a high risk at the sight of a weapon. It was confirmed on the spot. The handgun was all black. It was clearly visible. He was doing 360s, and he was even pointing up at the sky. He was very agitated, was pacing. He was high risk because he was armed. One agent, so-and-so, spoke for more or less 1 minute while we all pointed with our Glocks. The suspect's weapon was able to point us almost 3 to 4 times, and while he was brandishing the weapon. He continued to wave the weapon, so I neutralized the threat. One projectile while I was barricaded behind my vehicle. The suspect was hit in the head. After the injury, I saw some blood, and that appeared to be coming from the head. I called the ambulance, and then such and such was putting compressions on the wound that he thinks. He says another agent arrived more or less a minute after the gunshot, and that corresponds because that's when Luc LaRochelle arrived. And so he says again, the subject never complied. Subject was walking well. Was an adult, good stature. It was a fraction of a second if he decided to pull the trigger. The attempt to disarm was negative. Deadly force was required. The life of a police officer was in danger. The life of police officers in danger in a residence nearby. I put the lives of my colleagues at risk and mine for a minute to try to wait for the suspect to comply. And that was negative. So that's how he ends his declaration, and that's all. That's all they get. So from him, the BI did read to me word for word because that's what I had asked for. I'd asked for it, that the language that it was written in as well, to make sure there was no variance in the translation, because so many things can get lost in translation. Like I Google translated most of that, and there was a lot of mistakes. So, it works for some things, but it's always good to look it over. So I want to thank you guys for watching, and I want you guys to think about this. So if you had a chance to listen to all of them, and tell me what you think. I guess that's what I want to know. I want to know Do you think it was too fast? Do you think I need more information? Because at this point, that's all I have. There's a little bit more, but basically that's what the DPCP takes into account. So we have one police officer says that Riley was walking towards him, and then we have that police officer that shot him that says that he was in danger. I'm going to tell you what I think of all of that. I think they seemed surprised to have found him. When they did, they seemed to have come up upon him and they were surprised. I think they got too close. I don't think that. I think with all the other officers being surprised that there was a gunshot, that it wasn't really like I don't know why the cops were all surprised to hear the gunshot, and especially to be surprised to see the victim fall. So those are things that come to my mind. My biggest one is this cop, the shooter. Was he feeling good that day? I don't know anything about him. I don't know how old he is. I don't know how long he's been serving. I don't know if he's been implicated in another event. The SQ has been involved in 20 shootings in the last 3.5 years. That's a lot. I know they're a big outfit, but that's only 3 years, so it seems that they like to use their weapons. And I was watching something yesterday, and that said that the more, they feel that if you use weapons, you're going to get people to comply. I think you're gonna get more resistance. I don't believe that Riley was ever a danger to those police officers. I can understand that they didn't see the gun. Like, I didn't give you Luc La Rochelle's declaration because he did arrive there later. Basically, he corroborates when he arrives, when I arrive, when Larry arrives. He also says that the minute he walked by the victim, that he saw that it was an air gun with an air compressor. So I know I can understand and empathize, but I would really like to have more information. Unfortunately, at this point, I'm waiting for the coroner's report, which I think it's going to take some time now because of the virus and all the deaths. So the coroner's office is going to be quite busy. I've been waiting and waiting. I don't I don't know. There's a lot of things that we can do now. We can always do a civil suit, for wrongful death, but that's not really something that I'm interested in doing at this time because I don't believe that we're going to get any more information and that anything's going to change from it. And my goal in all of this is that there's more training involved with the police. Like, as you know now, the police has a lot of power. They can come into your house if there's, if they see cars in the driveway, if your neighbors tell on you. We've become a society. It's not a police state, but I'm shocked by the amount of people that are calling the police and that are so easily. They easily believe that the police have all the answers. If you think that giving a $1,000 ticket to someone is going to keep them from, these people, I'm not even going to go there. So I wanted to say thank you for watching. I appreciate it. I so appreciate it. And stay tuned. I'm on a journey, and it's, I think this is what I call moving forward. I have to know, I have to know how my son died and what his last moments were. And there's more things that I want to know. So I hope you guys have a really great day and stay kind.